It was in boxes here, pieces there, nuts and bolts in this little container. The cabinet was taken apart, pieces were missing. But I knew what it was, and I knew it was a beautiful piece of furniture.
There's a thin line between a hobby and an obsession. In Winnipeg, you'll find a huge cross-section of people salvaging, repairing, and collecting vintage stereo equipment. There are others who design and build their own gear from the ground up. Whether driven by nostalgia, a love of music, or passion for industrial design, you don't need deep pockets to experience sonic bliss at home.
Using the word iconic for the Claritone Project G, I think it absolutely suits it. I think it's probably the holy grail. And I don't want to say the holy grail of audio because it's not. Talking with other enthusiasts across Canada, I found out that it was number 43 out of 250, which is amazing. This book here was how I was first introduced. It was hidden with the manual and stuff. So when I ended up buying the cabinet, I started pulling it in. That's when I found this book. And it really brought to light the G. Frank Sinatra had a movie where it was in there. Marriage on the Rocks was the movie. Tony Bennett had one, Frankie Avalon. Sonny and Cher, I think, is on this page. My plans with it is to finish it. I think I'm hoping to have it done in the next year. I want to bring it home and play it in my home, just to say that I got to experience it as a complete story. But this actual G was from Winnipeg, and they used it in this book. $1,600. Back in, we'll say the early 60s, was huge. But then you see these celebrities who would be the only ones buying them. And I'm sure when these were in people's showrooms, this was a huge wow factor. The timbre door opening up and revealing the components. It was completely off the frame. The support bar for the speakers were off. Speakers were taken apart. Wiring was a big ball. Turntable was out. Receiver was out. Wasn't working. Here's the back end of one of the speakers. You can get the idea of how big they are. And they would sit kind of like on a pivot, half-moon platform, and then they would be able to rotate. I've been into it for 3 years, and why is it so important for me to take my time and make it a whole? I don't want to sound cheesy or cliche, but I think I found it, or it found me, for a reason. And that's kind of what this is all about, right? Saving something and passing it on to the person who it's meant to be for.
Some audiophiles prefer vintage equipment for its performance, simplicity of design, and as a way to share their passion. It's also a great way to keep good stuff out of the landfill.
My name is Hugh O'Hare. I'm an audiophile addict. Yeah, hold on a second. People, start one drug, move to the next. They're always looking for something better. And I think that's what happens in audio. There's something to be said about old equipment.
Oh, the man with the drivers. Come on in.
How's it going?
It was quality equipment that hasn't gone out. The problem is, over the years, a lot of the equipment within the equipment itself, like the parts, have worn out. But if you replace some of the old components, you end up with a nice system for not a lot of money.
So these are the ones I had at home that I think, and I hope, are gonna go in these cabinets that I found the other day.
Then what I'll do is we'll just match the holes up, make sure it works.
When I buy this stuff, most of it's dead, non-functioning, doesn't work. And what I'll do is I'll bring it back to life and I upgrade the components, and I'm constantly changing components and upgrading them to see if I can get a little better sound. And when I get that nirvana, it's that moment. It actually makes the hair on your arm stand up.
Maybe we won't need that then.
I used to read a lot of, boring electrical magazines and technical magazines, self-taught. And, a few shocks here and there, nothing fatal.
I always like it, when I have my kids and I'm doing this, I said, whatever you do, don't touch the...
What's your insurance like? Is it?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, then nobody's going to hit you with a stick.
No.
They're just going to let you go.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
And there's a lot of young people doing it now, and they're trying to learn how to rebuild it, make it sound better, make it safe. Because some of the old tube stuff, you plug it in, you're going to burn your house down. I knew a fellow that did burn his house down with a tube amplifier.
You can see why it's fun to do all this stuff. It's just like you get to physically do something. My whole life I was a banker.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing things, you know, it's doing a step and it's a long-term payoff. Whereas here you do something, you see it right away.
I've made mistakes. I've blown up amps. I've done, you know, crazy, stupid things. But as you learn about it, you want to pass that knowledge on because it's disappearing.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take the driver out, we're going to lay it down, put it on a blanket, and then brace it.
Okay.
The reason I hang on to a lot of it is because it's better than having money in the bank. It's real. You hold it. It provides you with some satisfaction while you hold it. And if you want to get rid of it, I've yet to see it go down in value. It's been going up for years. It's not my investment portfolio, but it's something that I know that if I decide to put up and sell it, I'll get my money back out of it at least.
I mean, you've tasted the bug. It's like heroin, and I hate to say it. You get hooked.
Yeah.
And you're looking for that sound and keep looking for that better sound, the better sound, the better sound.
Yeah.
And you try everything.
And it also brings back your childhood, the pops and the snaps and the crackles and and all that on a record. And so you're reliving your youth in some cases as well.
People who own classic cars love knowing a good mechanic. The exact same thing can be said for those who gravitate towards vintage stereo equipment.
Well, my dad got into TV repair in the late 50s through actually a correspondence course. I came along in 1965. It wasn't long before I was really interested in electronics, just hooking up little simple circuits with a battery and blow the odd thing up. It was a Saturday. It was just my mom and myself at the shop because the guys were on the road delivering TVs. A guy came in and quite harried about his TV not working and there being a big hockey game that day. I took the back off the TV and I looked inside and I could see quite clearly that it was quite simple. The wire had fallen off and I was able to get a soldering gun inside and got the wire back on and turned it on, and he was ecstatic. So he handed me a $5 bill, and in 1972, that was a lot of money for me. That was the first time and I was quite proud of that. There's a lot of reasons we become attached to our old equipment. I've got a couple pieces that my dad owned. The TIAC reel-to-reel here, an old FM Scott tuner that uses new Visters from the 60s. I've got these JBL cabinets here that my cousin had built back in the mid-70s. He passed away a few years ago, so now there's really a lot of nostalgic value with them. These are things I plan to keep. You know, it's kind of like if you have a 1969 Camaro, you know, what are you going to replace that with today? I'll admit this on camera, you know, there's certain tracks I'll listen to. I can feel my eyes getting watery. And I think that for certain people, it just speaks to you. Not everybody has that experience with music. But for those of us where music speaks to us, it can become quite a pursuit to get your system to where you would like it to be. If it's feeding your soul and you're happy with it, use it and listen to it. You know, you can't push people to love something, but I know the younger crowd, you know, you see them with their little earbuds and nothing, I don't want to be disparaging, but there's a whole generation growing up not knowing what good sound is.
Come here, come. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, yeah.